sources from both the NFL side and at Michigan, Jay, report that Jim Harbaugh may be tempted to leave the Wolverines to return to the NFL. So, Key, you like that? Like, has Harbaugh, does he have to strike while the iron's hot because they just beat Ohio State? In other words, is this the best he can do at Michigan and he's got to take the bull by the horns right now?
No, he could have returned to the NFL last year, the year before. I mean, look, he's an NFL coach trying to do the college thing. This is a good situation for him in Michigan. They got an opportunity to beat Ohio State, but you clearly saw the difference between Michigan football and the SEC in Georgia. You're going to run up against that a lot. Then you got the Alabamas. I mean, it's a lot to win a national title, and I think for him, it's an easier path in the National Football League. He's an NFL coach. He proved that with the San Francisco 49ers. His style lends itself to certain organizations in the NFL.
So is the NFL, Jay, the best place for Jim Harbaugh to succeed?
Well, I think a lot of times in business, striking while the iron is hot is something that people think about, right? There's a lot of leverage here for Coach Harbaugh. And when you think about he's been at Michigan, since 2015, 16?
How many years has it been now?
Been there for a while. Beating Ohio State this year, getting to the college football playoff, I think there's massive leverage for him. Now, I think there's been too much change for the Raiders organization. Because at first I'm like, all right, Coach Harbaugh, Raiders, but obviously everything they've been through, if Rich Bisaccia is able to win their game, they're able to get to the playoffs, I think you keep that intact, right? I think players in that locker room will respond to him as a head coach. But I do see the Chicago...
Him meaning Bisaccia.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I do see the Chicago Bears being an interesting location or opportunity, considering what Coach was able to do with the 49ers, what he was able to do seeing a guy like their quarterback, in that division with Ohio State for as long as he did for 2 years. I think there's a lot of familiarity, and I think he is an NBA. He is not NBA. Look, my brain is already transitioned to NBA. He is an NFL coach, and I think right now he's at his all-time high at Michigan. Why not buy another 4 or 5 years with the NFL team?
What about the Raiders fit, Key?
Well, look, Rich Bisaccia is the coach of the Raiders, okay? If you're looking at anything other than Rich Bisaccia being the coach of the Raiders moving forward, if they make it to the playoffs, then you're looking in the wrong direction. The players like him. The team is rallying around him. They obviously hit a little bit of a bump there with some turbulence going on around the team for several weeks and months, but they seem like they've gotten things sort of turned around. Winner take all this Sunday night against the Chargers. They do that, you leave that guy intact. Harbaugh's style will not fit the Raiders anyway. The Raiders historically, and I'm talking about throwing the football, pushing the ball down the field, not this 2 and 3 tight end sets, one back, power football with a fullback. That's not what the Raiders are built. That's not what they are.
So what about
Chicago was more of that fit for him. Mm-hmm. He played there. It's a great situation. Then there'll be other teams that come up along the lines. Is there going to be an opening in Carolina? Is there an opening in other places that you look and you go, this may work? You never know.
Well, so in other words, even if they don't make the playoffs then, whether or not they would stay with Bisaccia, you wouldn't want Harbaugh for the Raiders. Harbaugh does seem to be, by the way, in another way, I like the brand, Harbaugh's brand with the Raiders, but I understand what Key means about in terms of the way you're actually going to play football, right? But that could be a fit in Chicago. Are you for the Raiders keeping Bisaccia even if they fail to make the playoffs, Key?
I am, given the circumstances in which he took over, but I also know that there could potentially be viable candidates that's out there that have a different type of resume than Rich Bisaccia. Obviously, when you become a head coach in this situation and you get to the end of the year, there's going to be changes on your staff. I'd like to see, if he improves the staff for whatever reasons that fit what he wants to do, all of a sudden the Raiders are going to be a different team in 2022. So there's a lot to be looked at as things start to unwind now that the season is coming to an end.
Also, Mike Mayock, I mean, you talk about people.
Yeah, he's gone. No, I don't need to keep him around.
Well, that's exactly my point, though, Key. So whoever that new person is as it relates to who's going to run things might have a different style or a different kind of mindset they might want in place to lead their organization.
Not to mention what's going to happen with Derek Carr. For whatever reason, though he has been almost universally lauded for his work this season, if not in past seasons for the Raiders, his name pops up when people talk about available quarterbacks, right? And it's odd to me that would happen if, and by the way, I am not as high on Carr as, say, Key is, right? But
I would expect for you to be. You don't know as much football as me.
Well, that is a fact. It doesn't mean I'm always going to be wrong about when our opinions differ, but that is a fact. He knows more football and likes Derek Carr more. But I don't know. Some people have Carr. I think Carr's a good quarterback. I think he's above average, but I wouldn't consider him like right on the cusp of being elite. But Key and others do feel that way. So why is his name constantly bandied about when we talk about potentially available quarterbacks, Key?
Max, I know I'm joking and having fun. My head hurts when I have to have this conversation because I don't know why. Like, what is it? I look at it sometimes, man, it just in general, even in my own career, I laugh when I hear stuff and see stuff because it's like, what the hell were you watching to even come to that conclusion? And I say the same thing about Carr. Like, what are you watching? The guy's completing, I'm going to round it up to 70% because it's 69 and some change. 70% of his passes, second in the National Football League. Why? But people will find a way to say, well, all he's doing is throwing a bunch of screens. They will do anything to try and send this notion that Carr is a bad football player.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.